entrepreneur that now funded and became investors in my company, where we raised $90,000 in like 6 weeks. And so, like, again, just going back to that Dr. King narrative, as far as like, even though they may cut off all your streams of like, you know, getting to that next step, but like, how can you be resourceful and you, again, use your network in order to kind of move forward? So I think those are like some of the motivating things that Dr. King has done for me, to be honest.
Yeah, and I can definitely see where that would go, and how that can definitely be something that would impact you and impact others that are listening and things of that nature. What advice do you give to other entrepreneurs? Like I said, I've met you at the different conferences and everything, so I know that sometimes people come to you that are entrepreneurs themselves. So what advice do you give to other young entrepreneurs? Because you're a relatively young entrepreneur. If you want to state your age, you can, but you don't have to. But I know that you're a relatively young entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what angle you're looking at it at, right? Because, like, in the tech space, it's seen as, like, you know, early 20s, fresh out of college, like, that's the young and buzzing entrepreneur. But, you know, I do have some corporate experience in, like, that whole international deal. But I did just celebrate my birthday on Friday, this past Friday, so I just turned 30. So I guess that's, you know, still relatively young. Thank you. It was amazing. I feel really good about 30. But I think I just, you know, I think some of the things that I struggled with earlier on was feeling like I needed to have so much, you know, in order to move forward. But, you know, like, a lot of times we have so much already that we can use, and we can already be resourceful. So I would just, like, tell anybody to be resourceful, believe in yourself, and just keep pushing. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of times I've seen founders or entrepreneurs stop right before they were about to have that big break, and it's just because they stopped believing in themselves. And so, like, you know, you just got to have faith. You know, and a lot of my, you know, upbringing is spiritually led. So I think I'm a bit different than the average individual. But if you do have that core essence that tells you that God is a part of your life, I think you use that. And, you know, I feel like our lives are already, you know, aligned. It's just like doing the right things that, you know, align with whatever that path is. So that's kind of what I would tell them.
And Dr. Noni, I know for a fact, because seeing you around and everything, that spiritual connection is also very important to the way that you direct St. Sya Academy, because you definitely are tied to the motherland, but you also make it sure that people understand the spiritual aspect of even the motherland and some of the connections to the motherland from a spiritual aspect. And I also know that you tied into even like our things, even with electronics and technology. Well, while you are a big supporter of technology, you also, I know for a fact, have had conversations, and even Desmond might be interested in hearing some of this, as to the ties between the old form of technology, like drumming, and to the new forms of technology, like the cell phone, because I do know that you explore a lot of that whole connection and how they, you know, the cell phone is just, I guess, a new version of the talking drum.
That's exactly what it is. I think that we do need to understand and appreciate the traditional spiritual systems of the continent, because a lot of those are infused in the Black church, you know, and the way we worship today. And so, you know, we also practice in our school, because we have people from all spiritual systems. We have a general meditation time where we have the kids just focus on that. But then we also, I've had them, you know, we teach the drumming. Spiritually, like I said, we meditate. We focus on some of the principles of Kwanzaa, and especially the one of self-determination and who are you, what has the Creator brought you here for, and what are the talents that you have. And so to encourage your children to understand that they too have to have a vision for their life, and without it, you're gonna mess up. You gotta know what you want to do. But we also, like I said, we have our drum classes, and we have made sure that the children understand the connectiveness of the drum. That was the first messenger. People could drum and send a message across to from one village to another. When the guests arrived, they already knew who was coming, what they were there for, and all of that through the message of the drum. We also, in our and our practices were very in tune to, practicing our rites of passage, what we do, and then we also naming ceremonies, and which also affirmed people's destinies or encouraged them to understand that they had their own destiny. And so we're not just rugged individualism, but we practice, community and the individual within the community, whatever. I don't know what else to say. We have robotics here. We do have computers here. I've had in the past people teach the children how to build computers. But I'm really interested in what you're doing because I love the idea of how you sat with your friends and figured out a way to address a problem. And I think that we don't do enough of that. We have a lot of problems in our community, and we don't understand how can we fight against or create a space where we can address those issues. I told the children, with one of the things that they're going to have to face in their generation is China and all of these other countries, these third world countries have now told us that they were no longer going to accept the trash that we were sending to their country. We can't get rid of our trash, all of our trash. So we're sending it to their countries. And when I went to Sierra Leone, I was absolutely astonished at the amount of garbage that was there. And they were like, well, they're shipping it in. And we're taking England's garbage and France's garbage and Germany's garbage and, all of this garbage. And so now countries are saying, no, you can't destroy our country anymore with this mess. So I challenge my students. I said, so now your generation is to invent ways to use this garbage and turn it into another kind of product that we can, a recycling product. Because right now we know we can't burn it. We know that it creates all kind of disease, release of gases into the air. It releases poisons into the soil. So what is a creative way to deal with this trash? And that was part of my question as the science teacher. And then also I introduced them to environmental justice, so that they would be aware of the impact of this lack of recycling on or this introduction of chemicals and factory waste into black communities or communities of color, and how we have our own. We have organizations that black-led organizations that are fighting for environmental justice. But if we could also add the science of how can we address and modify. So I think it's the coolest thing in the world that you all sat down and strategized on how to, deal with this stuff. I'm 58, but I appreciate both Nadia and I forgot your name, Sir Desmond. I appreciate your energy and youth that you have, Desmond, and dealing with the problems that you're seeing in your community right now. And I hope you continue to, expand your platform and move to other areas, because there are so many things that this community needs, the world community needs, that we can fix. We're a creative people. We can fix these problems, but we've got to get our children to understand that that's their natural gift as African people. We can do that. We can resolve these issues.
Yeah, because I imagine that even like issues like climate change, Desmond, and some other issues like that are probably some things that you're even thinking about now in terms of other problems that you might be trying to find solutions to. Like I said, you found the solution of the whole portable charger and things of that nature, but I'm sure you and your business partner are even thinking about other things on a regular basis, because I'm thinking that the entrepreneurial mind is always creating new entrepreneurial ideas and new thoughts on a regular basis.
Yeah, totally. And so I think a part of that was honestly the reason and like things that we actually wanted to do. I am like first generation American, so my family's from Jamaica, and then my co-founder, his family's from Ghana, right? So we've always had that, that I guess that chip of just like wanting to figure something out, impacting our
Mm-hmm.
communities. Like, I still go to Jamaica now where, my aunt lives in an area where hot water is a luxury, right? Like, we're still,
Right. Yeah.
And we live in America where, like, that's just, like, common, right? And it's just, like, you go to these countries. So I think for me and him, actually, we're already doing some certain initiatives, and I think a lot of it starts with the youth and just building up what they have, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for innovation, but a lot of it is just because of being resource constricted and just not having the tools of just, like, going online and figuring this out, or, like, having the tools to, like, be in a robotics class and, like, figure something out. So I think that's definitely something that I want to do. And I honestly, that was, like, one of the first companies I started, was something that was going to be more impactful in the like a third world country. But I think I needed some capital, right? Capital meaning, like, capital to really have some huge, like, impact and do things and make changes. So I definitely think, like, one of the things that we want to do is, like, obviously sell our company. So I'm definitely going to use some of that to do what I want to do in life, which is, create a better environment for my people, to be honest.
Because one of the things that I've always been fascinated by is I went to, probably need to go see him again because it's about that time, but I went to my buddy Boyd that runs Choice Cuts, which is a barbershop across from the Marriott in downtown Durham, and he had a gentleman there that was from one of the, has ties to one of the African countries, but apparently they are inviting more of us to come into, like, some of the foreign countries, like on the motherland and everything. But I don't think a lot of our people know this, that a lot of these countries are welcoming us, because a lot of times we're given this narrative that, there's conflict between the African population and the African American population. You just said that your partner is from a country that is definitely
Ghana.
considered like a third Ghana, which is one of the African countries, and you're from the Caribbean and everything. And a lot of times we oftentimes have this narrative that these countries are against us and everything. Is kind of that whole divide and conquer narrative that a lot of people try to put out there. But what the gentleman was telling me, and I think he might have even been from Ghana, was that a lot of or either Ghana or Guyana, was a lot of these countries are actually inviting Americans to come in and invest and even buy land in these countries and everything, because they want us to come back to the motherland.
Yeah.
And I mean, a part of that is, like, I mean, it's kind of not even good and, like, not as comfortable to be in America anyways, right? So they're seeing that opportunity. And so they see the opportunity to, bridge the gap between, like, what we call African Americans and coming back to, again, the motherland. I think that's a huge opportunity. And honestly, I do a lot of, like, global research, and I think that, if these countries continue to do that, I mean, and it kind of went back to the point of, like, we're not going to take the garbage anymore, but there's just going to be so much, like, global innovation that America just won't be what it is. Because even what I see is, like, we're not even the front runners in innovation anymore. Honestly, I think we're, like, third or fourth in my, concept. I feel like China, India, Africa, and then America, when you talk about, like, true changes,
we're ranked
huge
lower
innovation.
Than that,
yeah, and I'm just saying, like,
we're like
I'm pretty sure.
25th, 26th.
Crazy.
And we're like 26 or 26 in academics now. So we're very low. For the amount of money we have.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that we're ranked even lower than that in some categories. I think you said, I want to say that there was something I read where we were ranked like 45th. I don't remember what the category was, but it was like, there's several hundred countries, and 45th is kind of down there. So, I mean, it might not be all the way toward the back end, but it ain't at the top either. And I don't remember the category, but I know that there were a couple of categories of world engagement that we were ranked definitely in the 40s and the 50s. So, we talk about being a world leader, and I'm not saying we're not a world leader, but there are definitely some categories that we are slipping and sliding drastically.
America's a world bully. America is a world bully. So, and that's really what it is. And this is the reason why with the curriculum, I told my children, I said, listen, can you imagine what knowledge you would have to have in order to melt a rock? So literally, African people were building these, were melting magnetite. They were melting ore